Death be not proud.
Well, all right, you ignorant pigs, put down your crack pipes and your beer bongs. It's time for the Angry Tabletop Nerd Show. On today's show, what's the deal with Goobertown and spotting Illuminati channels? So, if you're one of my old sweat followers, along the way, you've heard me mention Illuminati channels before, like Nord Queen Alexis, Midwinter Minis, the butt-clapping captain of the Bussy Patrol. They all kind of seem off and creepy, but let's enter Brent from Goobertown Hobbies. Now, when Jesse the Body Ventura said, bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here in that legendary action movie that is The Predator, he never set eyes on this softy-faced MFer.
Bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here.
Sometimes when I look in the mirror, I say, God damn, I'm uglier than a pig in shit. Then I remember Goobertown, and I say, at least I ain't that guy. Talk about testosterone depletion. Are you trying to look like Bill Gates, Goobertown? Goobertown's whole gimmick is basically pretending to be the Bob Ross of the hobby. But Bob Ross has three things that Goobertown will never have: talent, tact, and testosterone. If COVID taught me anything, it's that 98% of the people out there are not the next Oscar Schindler, and they're not the next Jan Geese. Goobertown is clearly the latter. He would take any chance he could get to feel morally superior, not to mention tattletale on his neighbors. Just for that one dopamine hit of feeling sanctimoniously morally superior than his neighbors with a holier-than-thou attitude. He always seems to support the current thing, and now he's supporting female custodes, all right? Not to mention, every single June, this MFer, this pasty bastard, has to come out with a pride video where he's proudly supporting the rainbow people, or whatever the fuck they are nowadays. I don't even know what to call them. I just call them the LMNOP community. He's always making one of those videos every single June. I think this goes back all the way to when he started and everything. And, I think he does that to gain the algorithm, because the gayer you appear, the more you get supported by YouTube. They're like, yeah, you gotta support the current thing. People who deliberately go out of their way to support the current thing, like black mermaids, non-Caucasian elves, black dwarf queens, and then mentions the pink tax within 3 minutes of their video, that equals a big red flag with a hammer and sickle on top of it. Goober is your typical communist. Government should provide tampons for women because vagina, of course, guys, come on. GW prices are too high. And the world is going to turn into Tatooine if we don't stop using coal and oil, you guys. Come on, just read the science. If we're going to the world is on fire if we don't stop using coal.
The world is burning.
If you compare Goobertown to the butt-clapping captain of the Bussy Patrol, it's very hard to discern where the sexes begin and end. I've noticed something about people who come from deepest Wyoming and communists on the left. They're both so ugly you can't tell which sex is which. Except for in Wyoming, it's sometimes the couple's so ugly you gotta see who's using whose teeth that day in order to discern the sexes, because they all use veneers out there. But the men definitely don't look like Burt Reynolds, and the women, they definitely don't look like the lovely Aka Atsuka over there. But all Illuminati channels talk about GW prices at the same time. They all tend to virtue signal at the same time. And they also like to cry about not wanting to play the Nazis in Bolt Action. But you never mention these big channels boycott GW with their huge bases. They never mention the B word. And I have a theory behind this, is that some of these channels might actually be on the GW payroll, not to mention they could be owned by a small media group that is owned by GW. Who's to say what's on the dockets out there? There's a lot of unknown dark subsidiaries surrounding different companies out there that just aren't on the books. I know this sounds like a conspiracy theory. The last show I mentioned BlackRock having $7 trillion in U.S. tax dollars. This money is being taken for the act of subversion. Now let's put on our Alex Jones hat just a little bit. When Obama was in office, he was withholding funds and sanctioning Zimbabwe because they rejected butt sex and feminism under their president, Robert Mugabe. Then what do you see from the big channels from time to time? All right, you got butt sex, feminism, and prices are too high. All roads are leading to communism. All right. In this video, he mentioned in my last video, I mentioned the end of escapism, where all niche hobbies have to become a springboard for butt sex and feminism and other communist causes. If the consumer would just simply hold his wallet, and I mentioned this in the last video, hold his wallet maybe 9 months. You give GW triple crappy quarters in a row, just back-to-back shitty quarters in a row. Maybe some of the prices would get adjusted back down. If nobody's buying, what does that do at the end of the day? Well, supply goes up, and then they're sitting there with warehouses full of the crap that they can't unload. But nobody ever does that. But channels like the Goober and the Butt Clapper, Aeons, never mention the B word. Sure, Goobertown pretends to be all about good vibes and mental health and stuff like that, but you never see them provide a solution to anybody's mental health problems. Not having solutions to mental health problems is probably one of the most buffoonish weak-minded ways to live your life. What does that say about you and your masculine mindset? A man would recognize the fact that he has a problem. He would seek to solve the problem. A equals B, or A plus B equals C. Bam. Problem solved. All right? This just but a buffoon would show up to therapy for $300 a session and accomplish jack diddly squat. You know why? Because accountability is like kryptonite to virtue signalers. 1. If you're going to talk about mental wellness of any type, Goober, you need to at least look the freaking part, you old pasty bastard. Goober Chan's mannerisms really exude somebody who comes from an upper crust background, all right? He's never faced pain, he's never faced hunger, and he's never faced struggle. If adversity were to rear its ugly head at Goober, he would crumble like a crouton. If a Marine drill sergeant yelled at Goober, he would probably wet himself and cry.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
2. If you have to delude yourself every single day into thinking women are equal to men and all men are created equal, that's just as buffoonish as nerd rage, all right? All women are not Ellen Ripley from Aliens. That was just a movie, dude. Get over it. Though a very cool movie in and of itself. All right. If you put 60 pounds of gear on a female soldier, they also tend to crumble like croutons because women are terrible soldiers. All right. Now, I do surrender some high IQ ladies out there with real jobs, like my cousin. She's a CPA accountant, makes 6 figures. All right. Some women become nurses. I also surrender that. But if you get a degree in psychology and you don't follow through to become a psychiatrist, which denotes that you went and did something with your life by going to medical school, you deserve to be poor. End of story. All right? And what is psychology anyway? Is it just a bunch of useless labels that they make up to brand men with, to make us look crazy for taking care of business? I think about Goober Chan, and he's just sitting there in this nice house, and every single brick that it surrounds him inside of that house is there because a man put it there. That's what I don't understand about guys who rah for feminism, and they say that they shouldn't have to pay for their own tampons because vagina. Am I right? Social anxiety disorder is also not a real mental illness, all right? But for those 3% of people out there who do have a real mental illness and struggle day by day, you have my sympathies, all right? Goobertown might as well be a corpse without a soul. I have to delude myself that about climate change, everybody. The world is on fire.
The world is burning. Let's masturbate.
And for one who likes to rail about corporate greed, considering, that you're all backing the female custodes thing, what do you think brought female custodes into existence? It was corporate greed. It was Amazon and BlackRock throwing ESG money at Games Workshop to change the lore. It isn't canon. Well, I guess it is now because you said it was, But it was corporate greed that brought them into existence. At the end of this video, Goobertown made himself some ugly-looking transsexual custodes, which also tells me that he's into some pretty deviant stuff out there. Female faces on male bodies, which also tells me that he's a sodomy defender. All right? I wonder if this sanctimonious prick has the butt clapper captain on speed dial. All right? I didn't know that testosterone levels could get any lower in this country. But then Goobertown shows up like the missing link, a corpse without a soul, clearly fathered by two mommies.
Nigga, you gay?
Another thing I didn't get about the video was him wanting GW to make it quick and official by making new models that are female custodes, because this is canon now and this is just the way that it is. He has that kind of smirky attitude about the female custodes, all right? So he says they need to make it official, and then what does he do? He goes and 3D prints a bunch of gender-ambiguous heads when he could have went out and printed a bunch of big-titted babes with huge guns to be his female custodes. So, but I forgot, the guy doesn't like Aka Atsuka over there, He's like, oh, that's just too aggressive. Big tits on a woman are just too aggressive. I don't know if I can stomach that. That's the kind of guy he is. Doesn't like to see. He doesn't like to go to the jumbly room. All right. I got nothing against 3D printing myself. I'm actually going to get some 3D printed orc rock lobbers if I don't go and buy the old ones, because I'm a sucker for that level of nostalgia. But, the influencers, they never mention the economics behind the sector of the economy that Games Workshop sits in, all right? They sit in the leisure and entertainment sector of the economy. And when times get tough because of inflation, you got Europe deindustrializing, you got America spending money like a drunken sailor to prop up foreign wars and prop up GDP growth, it's also inflating our currency. So we have inflation, and things that are too expensive, like Games Workshop, get cut from household budgets. Like going to the movies gets cut from household budgets. And when Americans go to the movies, the last thing they want to see is butt, sex, and feminism shoved into their faces. The last thing they want to see are a bunch of race-swapped characters like Achilles in the Iliad, thank you Netflix, and the very, very last thing they would ever want to see is Black Aragon. Fuck that shit. End of story. All right. I mean, we have a bunch of lame and gay superheroes like Black Panther because, we need the world's first black gay superhero. Why can't we just have Spawn as our first black superhero? You know why we can't have Spawn? Because Spawn was cool. And if it's cool and guys like it, it has to be stomped the fuck out. Because if you break any of the gaslighting, and again, I'm putting on my Alex Jones hat here, if you break any of that gaslighting that Spawn isn't lame and gay, it gives rise to the good old independent thought alarm.
I respect your moral objection.
Uh-oh. 2 independent thought alarms in one day.
And we all know how much the dickheads in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum hate that. But I would like to see a race-swapped character. I would like to see Malcolm X played by Michael Caine. Michael Caine is a tremendous actor, and he should play Malcolm X in the next movie. And I think it would work brilliantly. Hashtag Michael Caine for Malcolm X. Well, anyway, I'm going to close the book on Goobertown, because the guy isn't really worth a coin's toss, and I don't like thinking about the pasty-faced bastard. I mean, there are white people, and then there are rich white people. He falls into the latter category of rich white people that like to go down to the LA gang tours so they can stare at Negroes through bulletproof glass while wearing safari outfits. So let's change gears now, and this is a new segment, which is how to spot Illuminati channels and everything, you know. And I've mentioned the BlackRock money before and how some of that money is being taken for subversion on every single level. Like I said, the end of all escapism. Let's put on our Alex Jones hat here just for a little bit, you know. Fill me out on this one. I'm briefly going to mention the hierarchy structure here, all right? First up, you got the influencer class. You know, you got your tabletop minions, your Goobertowns, your play on tables, your midwinter minis and everything. You got those big channels up there, and then at the in the middle of the pyramid, working our way downwards to the tip, you've got the influencer class. You got female channels that just seem to pop up from nowhere that don't make any sense. You've also got channels like the Butt Clapper, Zambies, and then Squidmar Miniatures. And then you also have the creep vibe factor from some of these channels because they don't seem real. They don't seem to be organic. Then you have the soldier class. And the soldier class are channels like Niche Crafts and This Mini Sucks, all right? But they're all kind of interconnected. Now, if you know anything about me, I've been around a long time, all right? I basically do this channel for the love. I like to write jokes about things I see in the hobby, and I also like to paint myself some orcs and goblins, and that's why I'm around, all right? But let's just start with the soldier class, all right? We'll talk about Niche Crafts and This Mini Sucks. Both of these channels have 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers apiece, and they seem to make a video every 2 to 6 months. Niche Crafts guy kind of looks like a molester with a mullet. He almost makes me want to cut my hair, and there's nothing to report home about This Mini Sucks guy. He's just your garden variety soy boy who's trying to normalize the color purple. Both seem to have high production Both of them seem to have high production values, not reminiscent of amateur content creators like myself. When I compare the channels themselves to channels that I watch, like Narrative Wargamer or JVC Paints, the difference in engagement is staggering, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, YouTube wants you to make content. JVC Paints sporadically makes content. Narrative Wargamer sporadically makes content. All right, Narrative Wargamer likes to make some videos about 40K games that tell a good story. JVC Paints likes to paint himself some bolt action. He's also a legitimate former Golden Demon winner. All right, both of which have been grinding on YouTube a very long time. Narrative Wargamer hasn't even gotten to 1,000 subs, and they've been around since 2019. All right, now I've taken averages from all of these channels. I sampled 4 videos and I took an average. On average, JVC Paints gets 410 views per video. All right. Narrative gets an abysmal 203 views per video. Niche Crafts will take 4,500 on average for each one of his videos. This Mini Sucks, a staggering 6,525 views per video. Slightly higher than Niche Crafts. All right. One thing I don't get about these two channels, neither one of them have made over 10 videos. Now, YouTube says that you need to make content. All right. You have to make content in order for your channel to grow, not content every 6 months when you feel like it. So how do these guys gain the algorithm? There may be a simple answer for that. They might be connected to a controller class channel like Goobertown, Tabletop Minions, or Play on Table. Now, the only reason I ever mentioned Play on Table is because they had that weird 40K video that was like rah-rah girl power feminist video where they said girls can play 40K too. And they got this Lego influencer to play a game of 40K so they could rah-rah girl power. It's always rubbed me the wrong way. Going to the next step in the pyramid, you have the female channels. They really don't make sense, and they're just there because, you know, guys are simps, and that's what. But the funny thing about most of these female channels, like Zambies or Whittle Goblin, wherever you see a female in distress, you see the tabletop minion guy's cuck face, just Hashtag waiting to get Me Too'd himself there. So I would briefly like to mention Squidmar Miniatures. All right. Squidmar Miniatures has well over 600,000 subs. And I don't think that that is real at all because there's only 1 million wargamers in the entire world. Then there's also the people who are never coming back to the hobby. I think that he is clearly a plant by the liberal media to tell you how to think and feel about the hobby. I don't think that chopping up Forge World models for your dioramas is going to give you a bigger follower count than Booker T the wrestler or Ted Nugent the musician. It just doesn't work that way in real life, okay? Something's amiss there, and I think he is Illuminati. And again, I've stated that Illuminati to me is any channel that seems owned. Now, why do I mention it that way? Well, there are a couple of famous YouTubers out there, Razorfist and Styx Hexenhammer. They've been around forever, and basically there's a bit of divergence there. You know, Styx and Razor have both mentioned, and even Video Game Nerd, they've mentioned that you are not going to go anywhere on YouTube anymore. The door of becoming an influencer has been slammed shut. If you are not owned by a subsidiary media group out there, the door on you becoming an influencer has been pretty much closed in your face unless you are very, very lucky and you're able to gain the system briefly to break out. All right? And they've made it this way for a reason, you know, because any crack in the armor, any chink or different voice could break the gaslighting dystopian world that they're trying to make. And, you know, like I said, it's not just our hobby, it's also anime. You know, you've got woke shit being said in anime for no reason. Like you have characters who are saying, oh, I would never willingly own another person. You know, got to virtue signal the anti-slavery in the anime now. You know, you got Western media groups sitting on Japanese boards there, you know. So let's fit some of these pieces together. I mentioned the BlackRock money. Number one, you get the bottom soldier class to reinforce what's being stated at the top. The war game is for everybody. Painting miniatures is for everybody. Collectivism, bullshit, butt sex, and feminism for all. Number two, use women to reinforce the narrative, because anybody who would question women being in the hobby is an alt-right Nazi or an incel. Now, I know somebody's going to call me an incel, but unlike most real incels out there, I have $300 to $900, $1,200 if need be, and I can just reactivate my Seek an Arrangement account at any given time, all right? Incels don't have any money, all right? So there is that, and that's where I'm going to leave it. All right. And I'll also say, any young men out there who have $300 to $1,200, you have no business being a virgin. Just pay for it. All right. Moving on. All right. You can use these women to control who gets little bits of female validation, which is like chocolate cake laced with crack for simps, you know. So you got this simp out there, sees a female influencer inside the hobby like Little Goblin. He's like, so maybe if I work out really hard, subscribe to her channel, and I buy her something off of her Amazon wish list, she'll touch peen now, right? She's never going to touch her peen, bro. It's okay. She might have to touch Cuckface's peen, but, you know, I mean, that sucks to be her if she is, all right? Then you have the controllers. The controllers at the top who are basically pushing all of this with them, and they seek a top-down monopoly on the algorithm. This is to keep anyone from breaking out. This is also to keep anybody from punching above their weight class. All right? Because if somebody came out and started doing these videos tomorrow and actually got to 10,000 subscribers absent any of their help, well, that would be a problem. That would be a huge problem. Not just for YouTube, but for the subsidiary media groups that might hold some of these channels kind of problem, all right? Especially if they said something that puts a hole in the gaslighting, all right, about how wargaming is for everybody when it's not. All of this is being done to fuck with you subliminally, in my opinion, just like in that song by Mike Muir of Suicidal Tendencies, they're fucking with you subliminally, you know, and if you don't want to kiss the ring, You know, you're not going to go anywhere. That's one thing that I've noticed, and that's how I've noticed that there's little chains on YouTube about how these channels are connected to one another, especially through the algorithm and what gets recommended to you in your next video. So if you go into the mid-tier level, not the soldier class, just the mid-tier level, you'll get recommended channels that you've never heard of that just somehow pop up from out of nowhere. They've got like 19 videos, 6,000 subs. Doesn't make a lick of sense. Those are usually the female channels. But other than that, I would like to thank Unit Lion. I think that's one of your handle names. I've been talking to you on Instagram for giving me the idea to write an Angry Tabletop Nerd show. And, you know, if you want to get in touch with me and you've been watching me for a while and you think I should do a show on something, hit me up on the socials. Instagram DMs are the best way to get in touch with me. Don't forget to subscribe to me over on Rumble. Link in the description below. Rumble is, of course, the home of all the battle reports. I'm going to be making some battle reports. I know that I am viciously behind on the content production. It's because of these bastards right here. All right? I have to actually paint my own miniatures, unlike some influencers out there. Or you know, wait a minute. Unlike some influencers, I actually take the time to go and play games. They'll talk about how they like playing games, but they don't actually play games, you know. Or I've been painting orcs. I've been getting sidetracked with desk work. So, as you know, YouTube and Rumble have many features you can use to interact with me. Like the video, dislike the video, comment, or subscribe. But until I see you again, keep painting, keep fighting, beware the Illuminati, stay metal, my friends, and we'll see you in the next one.
You dirty bitch! Look what you've done to my peonies!
You silly queen, they're not even peonies! They're marigolds!
Good God! I may not know my flowers, but I know a bitch when I see one!
I'm just stopping. I need water to do the Alex Jones voice. This is thirsty work, making holy smoke.
Even you, puppy dog. Hey, you need to grow a sack!